Welcome back to another tutorial for Introduction to Solid Modeling. This video is going to cover sketch relations, which is another one of the tools we can use to define sketches. You've probably already come across sketch relations in your previous homework assignments, just not intentionally. I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the most popular ones that I use. So for example, I'll start with a circle and we'll just sketch it over here. Not really attached to anything, it's free floating. I can click and drag it anywhere I want. But let's say I wanted it to be in line with the y-axis, which as you can see down here is straight up, or is this longer red arrow. So I can select the middle of the circle, and then I can select the origin at the same time by holding down Control. That allows me to select multiple points or sketches or lines or anything really. And you see up here at the top, it's giving me a few options that come up automatically when I release Control. I have make horizontal, make vertical, make coincident. They all kind of do exactly what they say they do, but I said that I wanted to make it in line with the y-axis, so I'm going to select make vertical. You can see that pulls my circle in line with the y-axis. So if I go back and pretend I didn't do that. Now if I want to make it in line with the horizontal axis, if I select the middle of the circle and I select the origin and I select make horizontal, it's going to drop it in line with the x-axis. Now let's say I wanted to make the center of the circle right on top of the origin. That is the sketch relation called coincident, and if I select that, it will make the center of the circle in line with both the x and the y-axis, or coincident with the origin. So now I cannot drag this circle away from the origin. And you've probably seen these green boxes pop up. For example, if I draw a rectangle, you see them already popping up. This sketch relation is defining this line as horizontal, this is vertical, and it's so on. Just to show you how that would look if I try to do it manually. Okay, so if I wanted to go from this random profile to a rectangle like this, and you wouldn't do this because we have the rectangle tool, but I'm just showing you how these kind of work. So I can select this line and say make it horizontal. I can select this line, say let's make it vertical. I can do the same with the other two. And look, now we have a rectangle. So these green boxes, you've been seeing these pop up surely in some of your sketches. These are called sketch relations. And if for whatever reason you want to get rid of one, say because you need this to not be a rectangle but some type of like parallelogram or something, you can just click on them and push delete. And now you can, make this a trapezoid or whatever shape you need it to be. And then you would need to define that angle with the Smart Dimension tool. There are a couple others though. So let's say I did want to, I'll make a parallelogram just as an example. If I want pairs of lines to be parallel, I can do the same thing I did earlier by if I click one line and hold Control and select the other line. Look at all these that I have that pop up. I have make horizontal, vertical, collinear, perpendicular, or parallel. I said I wanted them to be parallel, so if I select that here and then select that here with these two lines, now they're all parallel. You can see that regardless of wherever I move these points, the two lines stay parallel. So now that I've showed you the way you can use sketch relations when you're just generally sketching starting from scratch really, they do apply in this case, but I'm going to show you a few sketch relations that are maybe a little bit more conducive to when you're sketching on a surface that already exists. So for example, this is a pretty common problem you've seen on your homework already, but it's also common in real life. Let's say I wanted to do some type of pattern of like 4 holes. Okay, all 4 of these holes are going to share a diameter. So I can select all of these by just clicking them and holding Control, going around and selecting them one at a time. And then once I've selected all 4 of them, I can use the equal sketch relation and make all four of them equal. Now let's say I want to make these aligned on the x-axis. I want to make these aligned parallel to the x-axis. And I want to make these aligned vertically as well as this pair. So you can see that if I click and drag on this circle, the other two circles are moving with the way that I've defined them with the sketch relations. One of them staying aligned horizontally, one staying aligned vertically. Same vice versa. But let's say I want to make these symmetrical across this plate. One tool we can use in the sketch mode is centerline, which is basically just a line that is for construction only. It won't try to be extruded by any feature or anything. This won't show up once I exit the sketch. I can just use this for, just for sketch relations. So you can see when I hover over this line, this yellow point pops up. That's the middle. That's the center line of this line. So I can select this line, hold Control, select the middle of select the origin, and make it coincident. And now, whenever I move this, I can move all four of them symmetrical along or across both planes. So now all I would need to do to fully define this whole pattern is just set the spacing. So I need this to be 3 inches, and I also want to make these two holes 3 inches apart. Awesome. Now all we lack to fully define everything is to define the diameter of these circles. We'll just write it down as a 0.5, and there you go. Now all of these circles are defined in terms of their position and also their size. Another common one you may see is if you're trying to cut, say, like a notch out of the bottom of this plate. Say I sketch a rectangle right here, and you'll see this pop up automatically a lot, because typically if I were going to do that, I would select corner rectangle, and then I would start with my cursor over the bottom line. You can see that yellow line popping up. It's automatically adding a coincident sketch relation. But just to show you how it works, if I were to delete that, I can always add it back just by clicking the bottom corner of the rectangle, selecting the bottom line, and selecting coincident. And all of the same rules apply for this too. If I wanted to center this on the origin, I can right click, choose select midpoint, and then select the origin of the part, make vertical. So now this is both attached to the bottom line of the plate and it is centered on the middle of it. So now all I would need to do is define its width and its height, and then I can cut everything out. And there you go. It's kind of a goofy looking part, but it just shows you that it would have taken me a lot longer to do if I would have had to go and dimension each of these individually off an edge or dimension their size separately. And this one just kind of showed you that you can get away with using sketch relations to attach sketches to different parts of an existing piece. That's going to about wrap it up for sketch relations. There are a lot more that you can use, and a lot more of them that will apply later on, and don't be afraid to use some of these if ever you see them pop up, figure out what they do, but these are most of the popular ones.